Hi, I'm Heather, and welcome to episode 2 of my series of short stories currently titled Loving Touch. Episode 2 is called First Group Snuggles. I was delighted when Sel invited me to his group snuggle later that week. I had heard more than a few times that he was very selective about who he invited to his cuddle gatherings and usually only included people he knew fairly well. Serena assured me she could eventually get me on the list, but it hadn't happened yet, so I figured that our meeting in person on New Year's Eve was what finally got me on that special list. I imagine the excitement I was feeling at that time receiving his invitation was similar to what I would have felt in high school if a popular, kind, hot, and therefore unattainable boy personally invited me to a party at his house. No way in hell I would have gone back then, but this time I wasn't going to miss it. I arrived at Sel's and was dismayed to see everyone mingling around a small dining table, snacking. Crap, I thought. Mingling is exhausting. I thought I came late enough to miss most of it. I hope it doesn't go on long. I forced myself to take a few deep breaths, disguised as fussing with taking off my shoes. I felt slightly better, stood up straight, put my shoulders back, and smiled as I joined the group. I introduced myself to everyone I didn't know and was relieved to see several familiar faces from Sunday morning ecstatic dance and through Serena. I greeted them with smiles and hugs. I scanned the table and realized people had brought lots of yummy things. I enjoyed tasting several items and felt at least 15% less anxious after a small snack. Sel finally gently clapped his hands together to get everyone's attention, smiled, and said, "Well, shall we go downstairs and cuddle?" There were many enthusiastic nods and sounds of agreement. I hung back, letting nearly everyone go ahead of me so I could try to slow my heart a bit as the anxiety over trying something new started to rise back up. He led us to the basement. It was about the size of a small living room and set up specifically for cuddle gatherings. Mattresses covered the entire floor with scattered mounds of pillows and cozy blankets. A dim lamp in the corner created designs on the walls and colorful visuals were projected on the ceiling. Chill step music played in the background. I saw several people lying together in what I'd later learn is called a snuggle puddle, and some of them were spooning, some were massaging each other, one was resting their head on someone's stomach and was also receiving a leg massage. Tension started to build in my body. I felt the urge to look for exits and create plausible excuses to leave. I don't know if Sel noticed my darting eyes. He reached out and gently took my hand and motioned for me to sit next to him. My hand felt like it belonged in his. My racing heart and anxious tension began to subside, feeling his touch and knowing I'd be next to him for at least a few more minutes. He invited everyone to form a circle, introduce ourselves, and share how we felt in that moment. Several other people said this was their first group cuddle too, and they admitted to feeling nervous as well as curious. Most were regulars at Sel's and said they felt honored by the opportunity to introduce so many newbies to the coziness of a group snuggle. I noticed my body kept relaxing a little bit more as I heard from each person. By the time everyone in the circle shared, I realized that I felt safe enough to stay for at least an hour. Sel spent several minutes talking about how feeling sexual sensations was a natural part of adult bodies being near each other, and encouraged and invited us to remember this was a platonic cuddle gathering. He said, if you take some deep breaths and maybe shift your body a bit, it's easy to let the sexual feelings pass. I felt relief wash over me that he spoke about it so openly to the entire group. I had been worried. I didn't want to navigate the experience of anyone directing sexual energy or intent towards me. I looked around the circle carefully and saw everyone appeared sincere in their agreement. He continued, I like to start these out with everyone getting the opportunity to receive exactly the kind of touch they want and to explore some of the options. We will break into groups of 4, and for 10 minutes, each person will get to be the focus of their group's attention. That way, especially if you're new, you'll get a chance to see and experience some of the options you can request when we're all back together in a group. So, some examples. Of course, you can ask for massage, but consider asking for something different than you usually would. One of my favorite things is to let my body go totally limp and let everyone jostle my limbs, move, and stretch me in any way that is fun for them. The point is, try out a variety of ways to receive touch and look around. See what others are doing too for more ideas. Sel broke us into groups, and I was relieved he included me in his. He set a timer and let everyone know to begin. A man in our group volunteered to go first. He asked for one of us to lie on top of him and compress him with body weight, another to rub his head, and the third to give him a hand massage. I enjoyed giving hand massages, so I volunteered for that role. I watched as his tension and stress seemed to melt away. I noticed my comfort level continuing to increase as I looked around the room and saw all the different ways people were touching each other, and everyone still had all their clothes on. One woman was having her arms and legs pulled in opposite directions as she groaned with pleasure. Another woman was sandwiched between two other people, the remaining person in their group massaging her feet. I could hear someone saying kind and loving things into another person's ear. When it was my turn, I decided I was most comfortable with massage. It felt amazing to have 3 sets of hands working on my body all at once, and I continued to relax more and more. After everyone had their turn, the small groups melded together until it was time to go home. I enjoyed the snuggles from pretty much everyone, yet I felt particularly cozy, comfortable, and a gentle electric energy when I was physically touching any part of Sel, even if it were just with my toes. When we weren't physically close, my ears perked up any time I could hear his gently, gravelly, and soft voice somewhere in the room. Over the next few weeks, Sel hosted several group cuddle gatherings, and I noticed my feelings of comfort, safety, and willingness to explore new things, even out in the world, was building each time I attended. I was particularly surprised that I noticed that I felt an afterglow for days after each snuggle gathering. At one point, I sent Serena a message to tell her I felt a really odd sensation all over my body. I said, I'm pretty sure this is what relaxation actually feels like. I said it with obvious wonder and surprise. Quite a few of the regulars were people I'd met through the dance community, and this became an interesting way to get to spend time relaxing, enjoying their company, and developing friendships with them. I noticed I felt more confident about attending events I suspected that any of them may also attend, because I'd have a familiar face to look for and someone to ask for a hug if I wanted it. Until I started receiving it regularly, I really didn't realize how badly I craved, needed, and benefited from receiving platonic touch. I had always thought the only way I could get anything besides awkward, stiff hugs from friends and family members was in a sexual relationship. Since I hadn't been interested in exploring sexual intimacy with anyone for a very long time, I figured I was shit out of luck. Now that I knew differently and had access to a steady dose of platonic cuddles with a variety of friends, I was super excited to keep exploring other non-sexual ways like dance, snuggles, sitting next to people, deeper hugs, that I could experience physical connection without including sexual energy. All right, so there's episode 2, my first snuggle gathering, cuddle group, whatever I called it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for being on the receiving end, and I look forward to hearing what you think. Have a great day.